Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, today is our kind of Throwback Thursday. So, this is the time I'll be telling a little bit more storytelling, if you will. And one of the things I get asked all of the time is, well, what's your story? Like, how did you get started in this? How did you blah, 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 blah? And I always have a hard time with that story and that background because I always think, oh gosh, it's just, you don't really want to know that. Like, as a trainer, I just feel like I don't want to waste my time on that. And yet it's the thing that gets asked most. So, my whole career really started in sales. And so that is really what I want to talk about first is a lot of people look at salespeople maybe in a negative connotation when people suddenly find themselves in a sales position. Like maybe you're at a company job and you're like, oh, you got to do this with sales. And then people are like, oh gosh, I don't want to. And so I've coached a lot of people that found themselves in sales jobs, or took a job with someone and then suddenly they got put in the sales department. And whether you realize it or not, my friends, every single one of us are pretty much selling all the time. So if you have a business of any kind or you are working, you are selling somebody on an idea of something. You might not be selling a product, but you are selling people on a concept. You're selling people on an idea. When we're raising our children, we are constantly selling them. You sell to your friends when you tell them this is a great restaurant. Let's go back. Oh, I want to go see this movie. Let's go see this movie. Like the things that are involved in being in sales, like we all have these skill sets, and it's good for people to learn some basic sales skill sets because you're going to need them at some point somewhere in your life. And I'm not going to go into all of them today. That could be a great topic for a Tuesday when we really go into some, business tips. But I'm talking about my story today. See, that's what I want to do is I want to just like go off the rails. But here's my story. I have always absolutely loved sales. Like we are now going back to when I was probably 10. Like if I think back on that, my mom would not ever let me be a Girl Scout. Like, don't ask me why. I don't know. She just wasn't her thing. I wasn't going to be able to join the Girl Scouts. But my best friend, who lived like 8 houses down, she was in the Girl Scouts. And she was more on the shy side. So when it came time to sell Girl Scout cookies, she was like, oh gosh, I've got to do this and I don't want to. I said, no problem. Not only are we going to sell these cookies, but you're going to like win. You're going to win the number one person in this area for these cookie sales. She's like, what? I'm like, oh no, we are selling some cookies. And man, oh man, I would hit the ground with her running every day after school. We'd go door to door. Then I would get my mom, because her mom wasn't taking us. I would get my mom to take us to like the grocery store and set up outside the grocery store on the weekend. I would go to the bank on a Friday when people were cashing their checks, and we would sell the living day out of those Girl Scout cookies. And that's where I think it all started for me, if you want to know the honest truth. At the same age of 10, that is when, you get to pick an instrument in school. And I just wanted to be a drummer so bad. I wanted to be a percussionist, and they was mostly all boys, to be honest with you. And so they were like, oh, you didn't really score high. Why don't you look at this clarinet? Why don't you look at this flute? And I was just like crying because I wanted to play so bad, and that they weren't going to let me for absolutely no good reason. And so I remember my mom called the school and she talked to the band teacher and she said, this is what she really wants. And if she really wants it, she's going to work really hard at it. And so can't you just give her a try at this? And he said, I will give her 3 months. And if she can't keep up with everybody, which meant if I could not keep up with these boys, then she's going to have to pick something else. So she said, okay. And that's what she told me. And I was like, okay. So instead of practicing 30 minutes every day, I practiced an hour every day. And some kids weren't even doing their 30-minute timesheets every day. And so I loved writing in that timesheet. See, goes back to numbers like I talked about yesterday, but man, I loved writing in that timesheet, like what I did every day. And needless to say, I didn't get kicked out in 3 months, and I became one of the best percussionists, not only in the fourth grade, but for the rest of all of my school years. That's just how it went. And I loved that. So, and it's important as this story goes on, is that was my path. I just wanted to be a really good percussionist. And at the same time, I loved sales. So now it's time, I'm 12, and it's time to I want a job because I want to make money. I've always loved making money. It isn't that I love money and it overrides everything else in my life. No, I love the art of making money. It's just exciting to me. And so I wanted a paper route because I saw that that's where you could actually make a good income at being a young person. So I applied to be a paper girl. And guess what I ran into again? This has also been a theme in my life is, well, we don't have paper girls. We only have paper boys. And so it was like, what? And so, yeah, they weren't going to let me be a paper girl. And so I really pushed, but I really want to, and I'm going to do a really good job. So guess what I had to do? They gave me a route that I could potentially have and told me I had to go to every person on that and get them to sign a paper. I had to get a petition to say that they would be okay having a paper girl. So I did, and I got my route, and I did an awesome job on that route. So that's where I learned really good customer service skills. I did an excellent job. I was friendly with all of my people. I chatted with them. I never just threw the paper at the door and went on my way. I got huge tips all the time. I added people to my route because my customers would tell their neighbors, oh my gosh, she is the best, paper boy. That's what they would say. She's the best paper boy. I mean, girl we've ever had. So I learned to manage money then. I learned to save money. And again, I'm actually really building my sales skills here at the age of 12. So I'm continuing on my journey of being a musician because that's really what I wanted to do. And then when I was in my teenage years and I'm playing all the time, I had a woman who asked me if I would be her helper. She was a sales manager. And so I would literally go to her house 2 days after school and I would put labels on her inventory. I would help her organize, all the products that she was going to sell. I ended up she sold makeup and skincare. I helped her set up bridal appointments for facials. At 14, I was learning how to make sales calls and I was learning how to be her assistant. We would go to trade shows. I learned how to work a trade show like nobody's business at the age of 15. So I just continued to learn that skill of selling. And at the same time, I just thought it was the most fun thing ever. And so I got paid to do that. That was my job. And it was just a lot of fun. And I did that with her until I was probably 18 years old. And so then, I started playing in clubs, probably around the age of 15, 16. I was playing with a band and we actually started getting gigs. And so I started doing that. And then at 18, I was kind of doing that full time. So I was in a band. We were playing in different bars. We can say clubs all day long, but most of them were bars. And so we're playing and we're kind of making our way and things are going pretty good. And but it was a hit or miss on money, right? Some weeks we'd make really good money and other weeks you get paid so minimal and then you get part of the cover, seriously. So it just depended on where you got hired at. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get a job as a sales rep so that I can supplement my music career. So that was the whole thing at 18. Started in sales on a more official basis. And that's what I started doing. And I'm pursuing my music career. And kind of went along with that and did very, very well in sales. Like, it was not uncommon for me to be one of the top salesperson in our region and in the state. Like, it wasn't. And as far as the company went, they would publish like newsletters. I was like in the top 25 of everybody in the company in sales. And so I just really learned a lot of skills. I learned about selling and getting the customer to trust you. We'll do a whole section on that of what are the top 10 things that make a good salesperson. And so I'm doing that while I'm still playing. And then I get married. And so then 2 years later, I have my daughter. And so I literally played the drums up until I was about 6 months pregnant with her. And then I realized I'm not going to be a rock and roll star after all. Like I'm a mom now. And that was a hard thing for me to let go of, because that's all I ever wanted to be. Like, seriously, that is all I ever wanted to be was a rock and roll star. So I was like, okay, that ship has now sailed, at least temporarily. I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm just going to really throw myself into this sales management career, and I'm going to own it. Like, I'm going to throw myself all in. And so for 16 years, that is what I did. And at different conventions where I would be a featured speaker, because I was always one of the top salespeople, they also had other outside speakers. Like, there was one pretty famous speaker from California that was there one year, and she had earned a whole bunch of awards. And so we had her as our speaker, and she heard me speak. And she came to me afterwards and said, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You are wasting your talent here. You need to be teaching. You need to be speaking on stages, doing keynotes. Like, you're already better than the majority of people out there doing it for a living." And this was a new concept for me. I was like, really? So I kind of put that in my back of my bonnet, right? Back of your head, like, okay. And so then 6 months later, it happened again. And I had another individual. She was from the Disney Corporation. And she came up to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting your talent here." And I was like, "Wow, thank you. Like, that's so sweet and kind of you, but gosh, okay." And I then started really thinking about it, and I started researching like what it would take to become a motivational speaker. And like I talked to motivational speakers. I called them up on the phone, and people that I knew through other contacts. I had a friend of a friend, and so then I would call her, and how did you get started? And how did you choose what to speak on? I went to a couple of local NSA, National Speakers Association meetings, like in Michigan. And so I went to those, and I learned about different things to do. So I gave myself like 8 months of putting all of my money aside and saving as much as I could, so that when I decided to go and pull this trigger, then I would be ready. Like, I would have at least some money saved up so I wouldn't be desperate. And I did that. So before I actually pulled the complete trigger on that, so I started my business in October, just to put it in a point of reference. So it is like May, and I'm really working on all of this. I'm going to these meetings because this was like almost a year that I started preparing, setting money aside so that I'd have money to live on. And then at the same time, preparing myself to become a professional speaker. So that went on then it was it's summertime. So in June, I actually put on my first own event. So I booked myself in a hotel. I went to that hotel. It was a hotel where I knew that there were a lot of people that did sales meetings there. So I showed up every Monday in the lobby and then said, "Hey, could I just have a few minutes of your time to speak to your organization? I would love to tell them about an upcoming event that I'm doing." So some said yes, some said no. That's what I did week after week. I booked this on a Saturday. I sold tickets for $25 to come hear me talk about sales, um, and how to sell better. And so that's what I did. And I hired somebody to videotape that. And so I videotaped the whole thing. It was like a 4-hour presentation, which that's what I started out with because I had a whole outline of, building your customer base, setting goals. There was a time management piece. There was a customer care piece. There was learning how to do effective presentations. There were how to become a better salesperson, how to do follow-up, customer care and follow-up. Like it was just I had a whole program. So I watched it and I thought it was awful. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I said, like, okay. And it was so awful that I cringed watching it. But I made myself pages of notes on how to do it better. And I practiced and practiced. And when you practice anything of where you're going to be talking, you should practice out loud. Even if you are doing a YouTube channel, like I go on walks and I practice out loud even now when I'm on my walk, like certain things I want to say, because then you will learn how to speak better if you're practicing out loud versus practicing in your head. The time in your head is different than when you actually speak out loud. So I did that. And then I set my first speaking engagement was in October. I had one. Then I had one in November. And then I didn't have anything else coming up. From that, though, I did get 2 booked in January. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of off and running. And I went to that first one in January, and it was a pretty big group. There was about, 350 people there. Like, that was bigger than I had been doing. And I was like, okay. And as soon as it was over, people were coming up to me saying, "Can we buy your program? Like, do you have this for sale?" And I was like, "No." And so then I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I got to get this figured out." So I came home from that event. That event happened to be in Calgary. My first year of speaking, 70% of my work was in Canada. They were just more open to having me come in as a nobody and teach them than it was here. It was a much harder, like getting myself in the door in the States. It was just much harder. So all of my business the first year, like the majority of it, was in Canada. So I was in Calgary and I came home and I immediately was like, I got to get this recorded. So now you can record yourself on so many different devices, but back then I had to book time in a studio and I had to do that. And so I did. And I knew I was going to have to pay for this. And I really wasn't making a ton of money at this point. I mean, I'm doing okay. And I was like, okay, I've got to pay for these. And it was on cassette tapes, just to give you a point of reference. That was in 1996 that I went into the studio for the first time. And it was a set of 6 cassette tapes. It was my whole program live. And I had to go through the process of editing those. Well, first of all, I was going in with the individual to edit them. And he said to me, he probably is like, "Oh my gosh," he said, "I want you to go home. I'm going to give you a machine, go home and mark it every time that you say, okay, so, so every time you do that, I just want you to mark it, and then I can then get it. It'll save you a ton of money than us sitting here together." Plus, he probably didn't want to sit there together with me. Fun part of that story is 5 years later, 6 years later, not we didn't get married 5 years later, we got married 7 years later, but 5 years later, that would be who I ended up dating. And so I married my sound engineer. There you go. So, um, at the time that we did that, we were both married and not even thinking about that. So anyway, I recorded that and I charged we got them edited and I charged the whole thing on my credit card. It was like $10,000. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to book myself solid. So they were coming out in April and that's when I had to charge it all. And so I thought I've got to book myself solid for April. And I hustled and got myself booked for 4 speaking engagements, 1 a week for the month of April. And the one that I had was in Toronto, and it was a pretty big one. There was a lot of people there. It was probably close to 500 people there. And I had my little cassette tapes with me. And I was just hopeful that I could pay that off by the end of the month. That was my goal. If I could make enough money to pay that credit card bill off by the end of the month, then I wouldn't be like carrying it over or if it took me 2 months, like I was like, I've got to get this paid off. And it might be the most exciting thing I've ever experienced because that very first one that I did was in Toronto. There was a lot of people there and I made enough money on the one day. Everybody bought them. I mean, like everybody bought those cassette tapes and I was able to pay that entire bill off on that very first speaking engagement. So, needless to say, we had to do another run of them pretty quickly. And, but that's how it all began. And it just grew from there. So literally I kind of practiced for about 8 months. I launched my business in October. By April, I was making a pretty good amount of money. The first year was successful. And by year 3, we did our first $1 million in sales. So, and the company was growing and I was starting to speak. And then by year 2, I was speaking more in the United States. But it was super exciting. So I think I'm going to do this in 2 parts because, I don't want these to go really long, but a couple of the lessons there. I was going to share this. I'm going to do I'm going to save it. I'm going to save a story for you. I've got a story for you about when I started that is going to go. We're going to do one coming up in a couple of weeks on believing in yourself. And I'm going to share a really pivotal story that was a game changer for me in that happening. But I make it sound simple. Like when I'm telling the story, it just sounds like that was pretty easy. But there wasn't anything easy about it. I spent hours on the phone to get those bookings because I was booking myself at that point. Later, I would hire somebody that would be the person to get me the bookings and leads, and then I would close it. But in the beginning, it was all me. It was just me. And so I had to spend time watching myself on tape, listening to myself back on those tapes, understanding things that I was doing that didn't really sound good. I would catch myself in saying certain words or phrases that that doesn't sound good. And I completely continued to tweak my speech. And then I would spend the rest of that time, calling on people. I remember one seminar that I did on my own. And this is before that whole April thing started, because in the beginning, I did all my speaking engagements within about a 4-hour radius, because I was like, if I can drive there, that would be good. And then I had a couple friends that said, come out and stay with me. I'll help you pull a seminar together. I was like, okay. But I did one in Toronto that I drove all the way there, got there. Toronto's about 4 hours from my house. So I got there, did the seminar. Only 8 people bought tickets and showed up. So not everyone is great. And I didn't even make enough money that I felt that I could stay in the hotel that night. And so my seminar ended, it was from 6 to 10. So I learned to shorten that up as time went on, but it was from 6 to 10. And at 10 o'clock, I'm like, I didn't even make enough money like to really pay for my hotel room tonight, because I already had to pay for the hotel room that I did the seminar in. And so I just thought I'll drive home. And I drove all the way home. I got home around 2 o'clock in the morning, and probably actually 2:30, quarter to 3. And I was pretty wound up. You think I'd be exhausted, right? But the whole way I'm thinking, I shouldn't be doing this. Like this is actually before things started to break. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not making any money here. Like this, I don't know if this is going to work. And then I was feeling really down. That was probably one of the lower points in the beginning of me thinking, I don't know. And I turned on the TV, and the Tina Turner documentary on MTV was on. No, this is no kidding. And she hit rock bottom, like the whole story of her, getting beat up and running out and going to a hotel room and having 37 cents or whatever it was in her pocket. And I watched that and I cried through the whole thing. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not there, and she can do that. I can do this. I can do this. I just have to keep on it. I have to keep getting in front of people. And like that was her whole thing, that she just started playing a lot of dive places, and she had her little trailer, going to Holiday Inns and playing. And I'm like, I just need to keep getting in front of people. Tonight wasn't my night, but that's okay. And that is what you have to keep doing, is getting in front of people. And I had to keep making calls. And then I even made myself a little worksheet because I was getting, so much rejection. Like, who are you? What do you do? It just was, it was tough. And so I made myself a little a paper that had like bricks going all the way up, and I would literally cross out the bricks every call that I made. So my goal was just cross out the bricks, knock down the brick wall. And honestly, by the time that kept me going every day to knock out another brick. And then next thing I knew, I had those 2 booked, and then I had 4 booked, and then I had 6 booked, and then I would book. My goal was always to do 8. 8 will make you great. And so that's what I did. I can tell you another story about comparing yourself to others. It was a big lesson to learn. I'll just keep teaching you some life lessons from my journey of how I started my business. But this is enough for today. But it really is about staying focused, staying committed, like the 4 pillars I told you about, staying consistent, making calls every day. I would ask people when I would get on the phone with them, I'd say, who else do you know? Can you give me 3 referrals? Who else do you know in sales that could probably benefit from something like this? And I'd get 3 names, and I would call them and say, your friend Mary suggested I give you a call, like all of it, until I got some more bookings. And then when I didn't have enough of my own, somebody hiring me and booking me, I would go back to doing my own open seminar in another city. And I just started doing those. And then from that, there would be people in that audience that would say, oh my gosh, like this was amazing. Also in January of that year, this was incredible too. I did an open seminar in Detroit, out by Detroit Metro Airport, because I needed to try to make it. And 16 people came and bought tickets to that one because it was freezing cold here. We had a big storm and the flu was going rampant like crazy. I actually had sold more tickets than that, but only 16 people actually showed up that morning. And I was feeling down again about that. And then right after that, about 2 months later, I got a call from a CEO of a company. And he said, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. And he said, one of our sales reps came to your open event in Detroit. And she ended up being in February the #1 salesperson in our company, and she's never even come close to that. Like, she just blew everybody out of the water. And I said to her, what in the world happened to you? And she said, I went to this seminar and I just followed everything that this woman said, and it was amazing. And so he said, we'd like to hire you for our national conference in Orlando this summer. And that was my first, like, super big convention that summer in Orlando, where there was like a couple thousand people. And it just went that way. And so it went by getting myself in front of small groups of people till I became noticed and people started seeing results. I've always tried to make my information something that you could take with you and you could actually put into action. Because if you can't, there's philosophy training and there's factual training. Like, here's steps, here's action step training. And they're both important. But some speakers are just philosophy, like meaning, oh, I used to be this and now I'm this. I used to be afraid to go out of the house and now I can walk around the block. I mean, like, these are great stories. It's the hero story, right? And those are great. Or you got a philosophy where you go all around, but you never tell anybody. You tell everybody what's available, but you never tell anybody how they can do it. And so then there's other people, though, that are lecturers, and here's how you do it. And they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what has been hard for me, I'll be super honest, is when I started doing more online training, it was really hard because you're not seeing the audience, right? And you're not playing off your audience. And so you fall into lecture mode. And I still have to fight with that instead of allowing your personality to shine through. And so I always have been, here's why you want to do something, here's how you do it, and here's how it plays out in real life. Here's a real life example of how that works. And then people remember it. They remember the story. Then if you tell them why, they're open-minded enough to say, okay, I'll buy into that of the why. Now tell me how to do it. If you just tell somebody how to do something and they don't believe they really need to, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. And, there's also a confidence level that comes in there, and teaching people how to grow their confidence. We'll save that. We'll save that for another day. This is how it all began. And was it super easy? No, it wasn't easy. But did it happen? It did. And then it just grew continually. And it was fun. I had fun growing that business. And then that has lasted literally 30 years. And my business took a hard hit in COVID, and I would say I have not recovered from that. And so I'll be sharing that part of the journey with you too, which is kind of where I'm at right now and trying to figure it all out. And it is not easy. I've always dealt with being a woman in large part in a man's world. When I was a percussionist and in lots of other areas as a business consultant, people are inclined to go with men more than they are with women. It's just, and as women age, they age, and men become somehow wiser. And it's not easy. I had a headhunter tell me, I was like looking for some consulting different things, and he was like, I don't want to be mean, but you're like 65 years old and you've only ever worked for yourself. And, you're a female, you don't have a college degree, and it's just going to be almost impossible for me to place you anywhere. And, well, thank you for that. That's just super encouraging. But if we can't be honest of that is ageism real? Is sexism real? Are we fighting against a lot of different things? Yes, and yes, and yes. So anyway, here we are, 30 years later, but I can't wait to share with you all of some really great learning points and high points along those 30 years of my journey. So a lot of that is going to be on Thursdays. I hope that you'll join in for that. And I hope that my heart so much is to teach you the shortcuts on how you can grow a business and how you can have a more fulfilled life, how you can have work-life balance so you don't miss out all the special things along the way because you're chasing your career so hardcore. Um, so lessons I've learned along the way. So thank you for indulging me in this half hour today. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll continue talking about these on Thursday. So next week will be part 2 of sort of my journey and how I started and grew my business over the years. And there were definite pivot points along the way. So I can't wait to share those with you. Thanks so much, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.